All right, next project time. Agricola. This is formerly the number one board game on Board Game Geek. It took that title for a while. This is also the first Uwe Rosenberg that I ended up playing. I ended up going back through some of his other games in his various series later. This is the first one that introduced me to him. I haven't played this in a really long time, and also I have a really old copy, which means that I'm about to be embarrassed by what I'm going to show you guys in this box. Uh, there is no there was no insert at the time that I got this. Possibly that's been fixed now, but basically this is a giant pile of Ziplocs, and let's take a look at what we can do about that. All right, so first off, we've got the game Agricola consists of the instruction book. We've got a bunch of individual player boards, and we've got some common boards. And the other side of them is also some explanation boards. So all of this stuff together, is looks like about 17, 18 millimeters. 16 to 17 millimeters. Okay. So that's so. The game that I've got is just a bunch of decks. The scoring pad, which is actually required. The scoring routine for this game is pretty complicated at the end. So this needs to stay in the box somehow. Got a whole bunch of cards, which I don't have sleeved. You actually don't shuffle these very often. So I don't know that I want to sleeve them, but I am still going to design an insert that accommodates sleeves, just because that's my thing. All right, let's see. So each of these decks has basically a bunch of different wells that are going to have to be there. I'm going to have different play dividers. I think it's on the order of 4 or 5 each. So this is one set of cards. There's a separate set of cards that you use for 3 players. There's a separate set of cards that you use for 4 players, and a separate set of cards that you use for 5 players. And then you've got all of your major improvements. And I think these are all in the game all the time. And you've got begging tokens or cards. And finally, you have the cheat sheets, the player cheat sheets, and one of mine is clipped. Yours won't be. It's not going to be a design feature in this box. But okay, so one of these cards is one of let's just do one of these cards is about 90 millimeters tall by about 60 millimeters wide. And let's see what the deal here is. So the full box depth that we're working with is 69, about 70 millimeters. And the boards and stuff were about 18. So what that means is that whatever cardwell I design here, it's either going to have to stack vertically, which I'm not sure how I feel about that, or it's going to have to stack kind of weirdly angledly so that there's enough room on top for the boards to fit, or it's going to have to be vertically, and this is just going to be the first insert I designed that has box lift as a compromise. I'm not sure which of those we're doing. Figure it out. But anyway, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different decks of various thicknesses. The smallest one is the Z deck here, and the biggest one is the E deck. This is the deck that is always in play. And there's a couple of other ones. So this is like all of the complicated cards that you don't want to play these when newbies are involved, but when you get the hang of the game, throw them in for extra fun. And there's the interactive deck, and this is the one that involves like things that players can do to each other. By default, this is a pretty goldfish, like everyone is in their own sandbox game. But so we've got 5 different decks of various sizes. They all have, I think, between 3 and 5 different sections that they're going to need. That's one thing. We've got food tokens. We've got various multiplier tokens. And we've got some reservation tokens. We've got, I think it's 3 or 4 different kinds of resources. So one of these is corn, one of these is pumpkins, one of these is cows, one of them is pigs, and one of them is sheep. So that's 5 for the resources. And I might break that up into might break that up into crops and animals. And then we have, oh wait, before I get to the player tokens, we've also got building resources. So this is reed, wood, and I want to say stone. It's been a while since I played this. Right, yeah, it is stone. And then we've got the different kinds of tiles that you can lay on your own personal player boards. You've got the clay rooms, you've got the wood rooms on the other side, you've got the stone rooms, and on the other side of those is the plowed fields. So, right, and then we have 5 sets of player pieces. So this is taking the shape of, we're going to want some deck dividers. We're obviously going to want some generic wells. We're going to want 3 wells to keep the building material separate. We're going to want either one set of 5 wells or a set of 2 and a set of 3 for all of the crops and animals. We're going to want one weird one with some custom-made, specially sized slots to keep the multiplier tokens, the reservation tokens, with one well for the food tokens, and also there's this one starting player token, which is just a wooden cylinder that goes around. We're going to want one thing, the same that I designed in the Isle of Skye insert. We're going to want one slot that sort of perfectly accommodates this, that you can pick it out. We're going to want 2, maybe I could put this into one tile tray with 2 different tile wells. It's probably fine. The only problem with that is that these seem like they're going to be significantly differently sized, so maybe I don't put this in the same well. Maybe these are 2 separate ones. Okay, let's see. That, and then we've got one of those. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, okay, so these are pretty good. Sorry, drop a couple of these. Alright, I'll find the other one later. So these are different sizes, but not, the difference isn't as significant as I was sort of thinking it was going to be, even with one of these missing. So it seems like maybe I do just design one tray that has 2 wells, and maybe one of them has extra space on it, so that you can tell which is which. That's fine. And then we're going to have 5 player wells. This is becoming a minor pet peeve of mine. Games that have 5 player boards. The Orleans box also had the same thing. The problem is that you can't stack these symmetrically, right? So these can't be, I can't have 2 levels of player dealies because they can't all be the same size in that case. They either have to be 5 next to each other in whichever orientation, or they have to be one that is wide enough that they can stack up 5 apiece to the height of the box. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that second one because of the restriction of the board sizes and the actual height of this box. But, so whatever I do is going to have to accommodate some number of family member discs. This is going to be some number of family member discs. It's 5. I don't know if there's expansions that add more, possibly. So 5 of these wooden discs. A bunch of these wooden fence sticks. And 4 staples. That's the little house-shaped dealies. And also, I'm aware that there's, so normally I would want to make a player tray that is very specific to the pieces that come in that exist in the game. So I would probably have like a round well that very tightly hugs with some tolerance the size of this disc, and very tightly hugs the tolerance of the size of these sticks. The problem is that Agricola is one of these games that I know, like, the first thing that people do for this game is go out and get deluxe bling kits that make these actual, like, person meeples, or that make the animals and crops like actual little pumpkin meeples and actual little cow and sheep and pig meeples. So I don't know that I want to do anything that would that would make any of these things that tight. Possibly what I'll just do with this is make very generic 3-well, differently sized 3-well trays for each of the players. But the idea is we are going to have 1 well per player. So okay, this is already taking shape in my mind a little bit. So we've got 2 tile trays. We've got either 2 or 3 resource trays. We've got 1 weirdo tray that's going to hold all of this stuff. Maybe I put the food in with the crops. So maybe that'll be fewer trays, and then I have just 1 weirdo that has all of the multipliers and the starting player token. We've got a bunch of deck trays that we need, and possibly, I mean, so this is an annoying one because I think this is actually, yeah, this is taller than the box itself, so there's no question about storing it vertically. This is either going to have to be really tilted or just lying down at the bottom of the box somewhere. I don't like that, but I might end up wussing out and just saying, okay, well, this goes in some free space on top of the deck tiles or something. Yeah, I'll have to think about this one. Especially since this is going to be a different thickness, right? The size is probably consistent. I don't know how many people play with just way more Agricola than I do. This started out as a pretty thick scoring pad. Yeah, I'll have to think about this. But okay. That's what I'm thinking to start this one off with. Part 1. The next project is Agricola. Wish me luck, and I'll let you know how it goes.